palace made with the marble of the Colosseum, a place where the most famous Raphael and Caravaggio paintings are, the location where the legendary rivalry between Borromini and Bernini started. What's this place? Palazzo Barberini. Ciao everyone, welcome back to Rome! Today we're going to show you a beautiful place, which is not too far from the Trevi Fountain and other major landmarks in Rome. We are in fact going inside Palazzo Barberini. Now we are in Piazza Barberini, where we find this fountain. This is the Fountain of the Triton by Bernini. And right behind the fountain, can you see the white building over there? That is where we are going. That is Palazzo Barberini. All we need to do now is to take the street over there, Via delle Quattro Fontane, and walk uphill for about 2 minutes, even less. But what is Palazzo Barberini? It was the palace built by Raphael Barberini after he became Pope in 1623 with the name of Urban VIII. This was something like a royal palace, let's say, for him and his family. The feeling you get when you visit this palace is that you're not sure if the real attraction here is the collection inside or the palace itself. This is because many incredible architects and artists worked in the construction of this palace. There's one thing you need to know before we enter. Look at the facade. You're not gonna believe this, but this facade was made with the marble taken from the Colosseum. The actual stones that were making the Colosseum make the facade of this palace today. And this is not the only example of a building that was made centuries later with the materials taken from ancient Roman ruins. Now we're walking inside, and we're going to see a series of highlights that we think you shouldn't absolutely miss. First thing, when you enter this room, you'll find a map. Take one, it's gonna be useful. The first highlight we want to show you is the Annunciazione of Filippo Lippi. Here we see the Virgin Mary in the moment she learned of her pregnancy from the angel. What we love about this painting are the colors, the details. Look at the angel's hair, for example. Aren't they beautiful? Now we move upstairs, and we do that thanks to the grand staircase designed by Gian Lorenzo Bernini, who was also the chief architect for the construction of this whole palace. There's two famous staircases in Palazzo Barberini. This is one, while the other one, which we'll see later, was made by Bernini's rival, Francesco Borromini. And here comes one huge fact that is related to this building. Have you ever heard of the legendary rivalry between Bernini and Borromini? Well, it seems like it all started right here. Bernini was appointed chief architect of the palace, even though he was a sculptor. So he thought of hiring for the works a really great architect, and that was Borromini. Borromini worked on the palace, but apparently he was not given credit nor appropriate payment for his works. Apparently Bernini promised a lot, but actually gave very little. Borromini was so disappointed, he worked so hard, but was not given any credit for it. And this is where the relationship between the two deteriorated, and is remembered till today as a legendary rivalry. We are now upstairs, and this is where another absolute masterpiece is, the Fornarina of Raphael. This girl is believed to be the greatest love of Raphael's life. Apparently, he kept this painting in his house until his death. There's still a mystery around the identity of this girl, but it seems like she lived in Trastevere, and she was the daughter of a baker. This is where the name comes from, Fornarina, the baker's daughter. Raphael was so obsessed with her that he even included a bracelet with his name on her arm, as if she was his possession. The bracelet says, Raphael Urbinates. Do you think that's a signature, or a way of declaring this girl was his? We don't know the answer, so we can play with our imagination. Next, we move to this room with this incredible ceiling painted by Andrea Sacchi. The lady sitting on the throne in the center is a personification of wisdom, the wisdom that Urban VIII wanted to attribute to himself. But what did Urban VIII, the Pope, look like? In this room you'll find the answer, an answer by Gian Lorenzo Bernini. In fact, this is a portrait that Bernini made of the Pope. Every portrait made by Bernini seems like it will start moving and talking anytime. Bernini literally turned marble and stone into living things. Look at the realistic detail. For example, look at the baton, which is partly unfastened. We almost feel like the Pope is standing right in front of us. We feel his presence. Now let's move on to one of the most dramatic masterpieces of this palace, Judith beheading Holofernes, painted by Caravaggio. In an episode from the Bible, Judith, the girl in the middle, wanted to save her people from the foreign besiege of Holofernes, the guy on the left. She beheads him while he is asleep, while her maid is right next to her, ready to receive his head into a sack. Beside any possible interpretation of this painting that you can find in books, on the internet, this painting depicts universal emotions. Now stare at this painting, look at the details, look at it overall. What kind of emotion evocates to you? Drama, revenge, desperation? I'm sure you have an answer to that, because the Caravaggio paintings spoke a universal language that anybody could understand. In other words, this is a painting you will not forget. This isn't the only Caravaggio painting in Palazzo Barberini. In the next room, we have the Narcissus by Caravaggio. Narcissus is a young hunter who fell in love with his own image mirrored in the water. And here you can see Narcissus looking down the surface of the water where he sees his own reflection. Next we have St. Francis, painted by, again, Caravaggio. Here we have St. Francis holding a skull. He is meditating on death. You may have noticed by now that Caravaggio's paintings always have a very dark background with illuminated figures sticking out with lights and colors. This unique style of Caravaggio was taken as inspiration by many other artists, and one of them was a woman, Artemisia Gentileschi, that we see in this portrait. This is her self-portrait as an artist. Artemisia is one of the most famous female painters of the 1600s and the first woman to be admitted at the Art Academy of Florence. We've seen a lot of masterpieces today, but there's a couple of them which make this palace a masterpiece itself. This is the incredible ceiling painted by Pietro da Cortona. The name of this fresco is a bit long. It's called The Triumph of Divine Providence under Pope Urban VIII. What's this representing? First of all, of course, the spiritual and political power of the Barberini family. Can you see that blonde lady in the center sitting on her throne of clouds? That is the divine providence. And above her, can you see the bees? The bees are the symbol of the Barberini family, always present in their coat of arms. This ceiling is just incredible. Everything looks so frenetic, you just don't know where to look at. It's just like a theater scene, a perfect example of Baroque painting. And to finish, we're going down this stunning elliptical staircase designed by none other than Borromini. What was your favorite thing you saw in this video of Palazzo Barberini? Let us know in the comments. Today we've shown you our favorites, but there's so much more to see in this museum. We hope you enjoyed this virtual tour inside Palazzo Barberini. Don't forget to follow us and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching, and ciao!